an offer on the table, and I think the state would like to put that on the record so that we make sure that you understand what the offer is. You don't have to take the offer. You've got a trial set. You can entertain the offer. You cannot. You can plead straight up, as I told you. You can have your jury trial turn into a court trial. You have many options. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what is the state's offer?
Thank you, Your Honor. On count one, the DCS of Oxy within 1,000 feet of a school, the defendant is he would ordinarily be sentenced as an 8B, which would be 35 to 40 months in the Department of Corrections. However, Your Honor, the state has extended an amended offer. We've agreed to a dispositional downward departure based on stipulation, Your Honor, and we're asking for 36 months of probation, so it would be a downward departure from prison to probation. With 36 months supervised probation, all general conditions would apply. The special conditions would include our drug package and forfeit any items seized, and also to comply with probation as set forth in count 2 as well. There would also be a blood buccal sample, 6 months license suspension, and the $200 felony fine in addition to attorney fees.
And on the promoting?
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. For count 2, similarly, the defendant is an 8B on the grid, would also be facing 35 to 40 months in the Department of Corrections if he's convicted at trial. However, we are agreeing to a dispositional downward departure, again with 36 months probation, with the Marion County sex offender package on this count, Your Honor, and also asking to comply with the conditions in count 1. There would also be a blood buccal sample, sex offender registration, and also a $200 felony fine. And I see a note for, it says fine / fee, so there's a felony, $1,200 to be paid for money seized in the Salem incident report number in this case.
You have to register as a sex offender on prostitution?
Yes, Your Honor. That's
promoting.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So it is a beneficial offer, Your Honor. We're agreeing to, with the defendant's record, he has person felonies, but we've extended this dispositional downward departure. It's a favorable offer from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Johnson. They've put their offer on the record because we don't want it to be a situation where later you say, gee, if I'd have known that, I'd have done something different. Okay? So, now we're all sure you know what the offer is. We don't have to take the offer, but we're all clear what the offer is. Okay?
Right.
What I need to talk to you about is you are absolutely, before we start a trial, not guilty.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's the way the law works. Okay? And the state has to prove that you're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt and to a moral certainty to either a jury or to the court. But I also have to tell you what you could potentially look at as far as if you were convicted. Okay. So on the DCS, it's 35 to 40 months. Has the state alleged aggravating factors? No. So you could, yes?
They filed a notice.
Oh, they filed a
to
notice.
seek departure.
Okay.
That includes more than 2 aggravating factors.
Okay. So if those aggravating
And,
factors...
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I'm sorry
You may.
to interrupt the court, but I'm advising the court of that only because I understand that she may not be as familiar with the file, and we want to make sure that the court is fully informed.
Yes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And it's not my file either, so...
Correct.
Okay. So, sir, what that means, okay, is that potentially on the DCS, right, if you were convicted, stand before me, absolutely not guilty. But let's say things didn't go your way. Okay. So you're looking at 40 months on the DCS, which could be enhanced to 80 months. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And then on the promoting, again, you're looking at 35 to 40. But again, there's a circumstance where we can argue about how exactly this works, but I want you to know the maximum. Okay. So for that, you could also be looking at 80 months based on the arguments of counsel. And if you put those together and the court found that you could run them consecutively, which is a whole nother argument by counsel, one way or the other, then it would be 160 months. That's an extremely long time. So on the one hand, you're looking at potentially 36 months probation, and on the other hand, looking at a heap of time in prison. Like I said, you stand before me, absolutely not guilty. And that's where I start my case, and that's where you start with the jury and the court. Okay? But the difference between those two is very large. Now, there is a thing that, would the state take an Alford plea, do you know?
I know that we don't typically do that, Your Honor, and so I would need to speak with Mr. Hanson. And I also wanted to make it clear, in my conversation with Mr. Hanson, it would be the downward departure of the 36 months probation, but also if probation was revoked, the time would be, I guess, hanging over his head, so to speak. So it would be that sort of a structured sentence.
Okay, hold on. My job is to tell you where things stand. If you don't agree, I'm good with that. Okay, totally good with that. My job is to tell you where things stand. So what she's saying is that on the 36 months probation, if you were revoked, they would be asking you to go back to the good stuff. Okay. I don't know anything about your criminal history. Hold on. All right? I don't know basically anything about this case except that the charges are. Okay. I don't know anything about you. But I look at these two things and I think this gentleman should think hard about his decision. I don't know what I'd do at sentencing because I don't know you, I don't know your criminal history, and I don't know the facts of the case. But it's a decision that you should think hard on. Okay? That's my point. Ms. Ryder.
The court began to explain an Alford plea to Mr. Johnson. I'd ask the court to continue with that explanation.
Okay. All right.
We've not, Mr. Hanson and I have not had that discussion.
There is something Mr. Johnson called an Alford plea. Yes.
I'm aware of an Alford plea, and that's admitting guilt. And again, Jessica Kimfey was a attorney on my case, and she was the one that introduced it to me. And I told her, no, I've been asking to go to trial since I've been arrested in May of 2014, you know, and I've been through several of these attorneys, and each and every one of them know that I don't want the offer. I'm found guilty for, if, like I tell them, if falling in love and marrying a prostitute is a crime, then give me life. Hang me, do whatever you want, you know, but to sit here and have these false accusations towards me is completely wrong. And that's why I'm fighting, because I know I've proved beyond reasonable doubt by taking polygraphs that I'm not a sex offender.
Okay, hold on. The sex offender registration rules are by statute. And that means that somebody went to the legislature and got them to do some things and put some things in a list, and the governor signed it, and there you go. Okay. As to the Alford plea, Mr. Alford went all the way up to the United States Supreme Court saying this: I want the deal. I want the deal. And I want to plead guilty, not because I am guilty, and I want to say that. I'm not guilty, but I'm pleading guilty because I want the deal. And you would have the ability to say that. I'm not guilty, but I'm pleading guilty because I want the deal. Now, what the state is saying is, we don't always enter into Alfred pleas. Okay, hold on. And that may be so. But I think that it would be something that the state and the defense could discuss about whether or not, given the amount of potential liability you have out there, whether or not that's something you should consider. Okay? Like I said, I don't know anything about the case. I don't know anything about who you love or who you don't love or what happened or what didn't happen. I don't know any of that. I'm looking at a man who's in front of me who, if things go well, could get probation, and if things don't go well, could be doing a lot of time. And so when I look at that,